you're not killing the source of the flame. So, like I said, war's not pretty.
Mm-hmm.
It's not fun. It's not kind. It's ugly and it's horrible. But if you realize the power of these interrogations to penetrate the deepest elements of the enemy, they will dissolve themselves.
Wow. So the best way of ending a war is not necessarily to blow things up, but to penetrate the head, to change the view or the way of the perspective on who is the enemy, and give them like some type of alternative that instead of fighting like this, we can just go back in our old job and try to live peacefully. Is that right?
You're exactly right. So let me tell you, the most important thing that I do for my prisoners, it's not that I release them. So they give me information, they allow us to penetrate their insurgency, and then I find a way to release them. The most important thing is they look at me and they say, when I go home, are you guys coming after me again? And I tell them, you all your sins have been forgiven. Your actions against the United States military, they're washed free, and we are no longer after you. And they look at me and they say, so I can go get a job, I can do this. I'm like, and we're not messing with you. Debts are cleared. And that's what we have to do. Because the key about a war, what's the purpose of a war? To end the war. You gotta end the war. But in order to do that, you have to accept the fact that the enemy's gonna fight us. But at some point, we've got to let them off the hook. We got to if they lay down their arms and they say, I'm done fighting, let them get a job. Let them move freely. Otherwise, they have no choice but to continue to fight. They have no other options. You have to give up. You have to give the enemy options and hope in the manner that we want to, which is separating them from the insurgency and from the hate.
Wow. So that's very interesting because in another way, I don't know if that's only strategy and the way intelligence works, but in some way, I don't know if it would be misleading to say you're helping them stop the war in a sense. You're helping them stay away from hatred, and is that really?
Explain. I'm sorry, I didn't understand that question. The grace.
Yes, from what you explained, it seems like in other words, you're just helping them stay away from that hatred, so they can stop fighting. It's like as you say, the goal of a war is to end the war, and to end the war, the best way of doing it is to convince them to stop fighting.
So the elements to ending a war. Your purpose should not be to kill or capture all the enemy. Your purpose should be to give the enemy reason to stop fighting and the ability to have an alternative way to support themselves and their family. Now, the reason to stop fighting has to trump their hatred and desire and purpose of fighting us at this time. Understand, we've invaded their country. That's pretty, and most people would think that's a pretty darn good reason to fight against us. Now, the way I've seen that you can trump that is you get them to stop trusting one another. And then they feel like this team they built is turned on each other, and that trust and that distrust and the hatred they have turns towards one another. And they look at it and they're like, you know what? The Americans are the least of my problems. My buddies, the ones who I trusted, are turning us in one at a time. I'm out, right? And I'm out, and I have an option. And the option is this job of being a farmer, finding an opportunity. And even though I was in and the Americans knew I was in, they've stopped looking for me. So I'm no longer on the run. The second key is that I want to find a way to stop this insurgency from recruiting non-fighters. So, a non-fighter turns to a fighter, he's been recruited.
Yeah.
How do we stop that? Well, for one thing, we cannot, absolutely cannot have collateral damage of civilians, women, children, men who aren't involved in the insurgency. We cannot do that. Obviously, we have to pump as much money and opportunities for education, but we also have to make this community in the battlefield feel like they are responsible and they are in control of rebuilding their country. Because I think one of the biggest failures that we've had is going to a war zone and the community says, okay, America, you own the place, build it. And when we fail to do it in their vision, then the disappointment turns them towards the insurgency. So it's giving the person an opportunity to lead the insurgency and preventing non-combatants from joining the insurgency.
That was very clear, very neat and clear. And we're still talking about success, basically.
Uh-huh.
I mean, in that context, there are success in a time of war, how to achieve success in a time of war, how to win a war, the way you explained basically. And what do you think are the main qualities one needs to have to be successful, either in life or in war?
So I think there are probably three areas that where the most successful people
Excellent.
reach their potential. If you look at extremely successful people and you peel that onion and say, where do we get? Number one, I think it is their family or role models in their childhood that serve as their family members. So maybe, I first think it's parents. I think it's siblings. And if it's not that, then maybe a teacher or a coach. I do, and I think the more that an individual grows up with a strong role model who teaches them and cares for them and shows them that love, that's going to be the first foundation piece of a successful person. Number two, I think is an individual, and this is very important, that has the level of intelligence to self-critique and self-evaluate. Now, what I mean by that, there's people, not all intelligent people are able to look inside themselves and really pick themselves apart. But if you have a certain level of intelligence, then you have the ability to, write a paper, do an interview, play a soccer game, right? And afterwards, whether you win, lose, you don't have to have other people. You don't have to have your coach or a buddy or a friend come to you and say, hey, how do you think you did? You can get better. If your own ability to go, this is what I need to do better. This is the areas I need to improve. So the ability to self-evaluate and self-critique, that's number two. And number three, anyone who is able to establish long-term anchored goals for their life. So let me give you an example. For me, when I was in Iraq in 2003, tracking down Saddam Hussein, at no point was my goal to find Saddam. Okay? I know we're tracking. I know we're getting close. But I didn't need to find Saddam. That was not my goal. My goal, I'd been in the army for 9 years. I'd never been to combat, and I never felt like I'd contributed and really served my country. And I always told myself, if you go to war, you're going to work hard every single day from the morning to the night to the end. And if you do that every single day, when you're 80 and your grandchildren say, hey, Grandpa, did you serve in the United States military? I can look at my grandchildren and go, yes, I did. I served, and I gave everything I had. And let me tell you, the individual who finally broke, the prisoner that broke, that gave me, Saddam Hussein. It was less than 1 hour left on my last day in the country ever. And so I know that everything I'm proud about finding Saddam Hussein, the thing I'm most proud about is I worked to the last minute of the last day, and that work was when my prisoner finally broke, and he said, I know where Saddam is. I will take you. And that night, he took the Delta Force team that I've been with this entire tour. He took them to the exact spot just south of Tikrit, to the spider hole, and showed them exactly where Saddam Hussein was.
Wow. So I guess never give up, huh?
Perseverance. But what is perseverance? It's a beautiful word, but how do you get perseverance? You get perseverance if you have an anchored goal. My goal was to work hard every single day. And if you have that goal, when I fail at an interrogation and we go to the raid and the bad guy's not there and the enemy's not there and Saddam's not there, why do I keep fighting? Because I don't need to find Saddam. I gotta work as hard as I can every single day, so that when I'm older and my children say, did you serve our country, Grandpa? I said, yeah, I did. Of course I did. That goal's so much deeper than finding Saddam. And if you have those long anchored goals, you'll wipe out any obstacles that come before you.